Thank you. It's always a pleasure to join you and celebrate our award winners. I can hardly believe it's already my 16th. The whispers had already been spreading through Windsor's halls. The royal family has survived decades of betrayal, scandal, and even abdication, but it's rare for one of their own to be all but cut off by another family member, especially someone like Princess Anne. For decades, the no-nonsense daughter of Queen Elizabeth II stayed silent through the family's most humiliating chapters: Charles's affair with Camilla, Diana's heartbreak, Meghan and Harry's departure, even Andrew's disgrace. This time was different. She didn't just speak up, she acted. Camilla is now facing a permanent, deeply personal ban, issued not by palace staff or PR teams, but by Anne herself. The trigger? A heated clash with Prince William so intense that staff reportedly left the room. Multiple palace insiders say Camilla crossed a line with a comment that was unusually personal, cutting, and intentional. One source said it was the closest they'd ever seen William come to walking away from the monarchy altogether. Why did Anne, who has endured far greater storms, decide this was the moment to draw a hard line? Was it about power, legacy, or something far more personal? An anger that had been building toward a woman accused of repeatedly trying to reshape Princess Diana's legacy? Behind closed doors, loyalties shift, titles change, and quiet rebellions take shape. This clash wasn't an isolated moment. Years of tension erupted in full view. For the first time, we have a clear picture of what happened in that room, and why Camilla might never be welcomed back. The royal family has long cultivated an image of unity: carefully staged appearances, fixed smiles, and an unspoken agreement to handle disputes behind closed doors. But since Queen Elizabeth's passing, the cracks have become harder to hide. Many believe the real shift began when Camilla's presence started overshadowing others. Even before the Windsor confrontation, observers noticed the change. Engagements once centered on William, Kate, and their children began giving Camilla more visibility. She wasn't just showing up. She was stepping forward, speaking first, and taking center stage. The public image had been carefully staged, and William and Kate were fully aware of it. According to senior advisors, tensions had been simmering for months, beginning with preparations for a high-profile royal charity banquet. Kate had spent weeks preparing Princess Charlotte for her first formal appearance.
But before we continue, we'd love for you to hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying this video. If you just did, we truly appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the main content. Just days before the event, Camilla raised concerns about putting a child so prominently in the spotlight. Though framed as a matter of protocol, many saw it as a deliberate swipe at Kate's growing influence through her children. William was furious, calling the move out of touch and insisting his daughter deserved her place in the royal narrative. But in the name of keeping the peace, the palace quietly removed Charlotte from the guest list altogether. The move deepened the family rift. Not long after, during a royal succession briefing on how to present the monarchy's future, Camilla allegedly remarked that young heirs needed more time to mature before being taken seriously, a comment widely interpreted as a dig at Prince George. Kate stayed silent. William, on the other hand, gave a tight nod and left the room without another word. Insiders say this was the turning point. The final blow came during a private lunch with King Charles, Camilla, and senior aides. Camilla allegedly quipped that William should focus less on photo opportunities and more on preparing for leadership. When word of the remark reached him, his reaction shifted from restrained frustration to something far deeper. This was no longer about roles or protocol. It was about his mother, his wife, and his children. Even Princess Anne, who had largely kept out of the fray, began to take William's side more seriously. What had started as a family disagreement was now headed for a direct confrontation. Camilla was steering straight toward a crisis she didn't see coming. That evening, the normally hushed halls of Windsor Castle rang with raised voices. Behind the oak doors of the Crimson Drawing Room, where monarchs typically hold private discussions, a meeting between Charles, Camilla, and William began cordially enough. But within minutes, the tone changed. Witnesses stationed outside described Camilla's sharp voice cutting through the air, followed by William's unusually forceful reply. Then came the remark that changed everything. "You have always had your mother's disposition, William. Emotional, unstable. It's not how kings are made." Silence. Then fury. William rose so quickly his chair scraped across the marble floor. His cheeks flushed, his hands clenched, and his voice carried down the corridor. "Don't you ever speak about my mother like that again." He wasn't finished. "You cannot change the past. You cannot erase her. Not while I'm here. Not with her grandchildren watching." Camilla, momentarily taken aback, tried to brush it off. "William, I didn't mean—" "No," he cut her off. "You meant every word, and you've meant it for 20 years. Charles stepped in, trying to calm things, but it only fueled William's anger. "Father, is this what you wanted? A fractured family? You watched her suffer, and now you allow this to go on?" The room grew heavier. The door opened, and Princess Anne stepped inside, uninvited, unannounced, fully aware of what she was walking into. She paused, taking in the scene, then, with her mother's trademark bluntness, turned to Camilla. "What exactly were you saying to him?" "It was taken out of context," Camilla replied. Anne didn't blink. "You have no standing to speak about Diana. None. And if you've forgotten, let me remind you, she earned her place in this family. You bought yours." There was a beat of silence. Anne looked to William. "Do you want her gone?" William didn't answer right away, but his eyes said it all. He wasn't asking for punishment. He was calling for judgment. He gave one firm nod. "Then it's done," Anne said, turning on her heel and leaving the room. Camilla stayed behind with Charles, stunned. He said nothing. What began as a routine discussion ended as an ultimatum, and Anne, respected more than any other royal, had just drawn a line no one, not even the king, would dare cross. Because in that moment, the message was clear. This family might endure controversy, but it would never allow Diana's legacy to be destroyed. Anne has never been known for theatrics. She's the monarchy's steel backbone, calm, unshakable, and uncompromising. But behind that composure is a memory as sharp as a blade. She remembers every detail about Camilla. Long before the crown, Camilla was the mistress who strained Anne's already fragile relationship with her brother. Fiercely traditional and protective of the monarchy's dignity, Anne never truly accepted her into the inner circle. To Anne, Camilla was proof that scandal could be normalized if you waited long enough and smiled wide enough. Camilla did wait, years, even decades, and Anne, who had sacrificed her own image to avoid the spotlight, watched as public opinion slowly softened toward her. She bit her tongue when Camilla began attending official events. She offered polite nods when staff addressed her as Her Royal Highness, but she never forgot. Sources say Anne's breaking point came years earlier at a private dinner shortly after one of Queen Elizabeth's health scares. The Queen, weary but attentive, was seated with her children. In a rare lull in the conversation, Camilla reportedly leaned in and remarked, "When she goes, everything changes." Anne's eyes met hers across the table, and according to one guest, she didn't speak to Camilla for the rest of the night. That remark stayed with her, as did every perceived slight afterward. Every time Camilla stepped into Diana's former role, every headline pairing Camilla's name with the word Queen. To Anne, it felt like a slow, deliberate campaign, and she refused to play along. She made her position clear through actions rather than speeches. A cold shoulder on the palace balcony, a subtle seat swap at an event, the quiet removal of Camilla's name from a charity board list. Palace staff often joked that Anne didn't need to raise her voice. One look could shut someone down. But when she walked into that room at Windsor and saw her nephew, the future king, Diana's son, visibly shaken, something shifted. Years of restraint dissolved. This wasn't just about William. It was about everything that had built up over decades. That night, Anne is said to have instructed palace staff to leave Camilla off the guest lists for 3 major royal occasions: Balmoral's summer retreat, the Sandringham Christmas gathering, and the Order of the Garter ceremony. The latter was no minor snub. The Order of the Garter is centuries old, steeped in royal tradition, and removing the queen consort from its proceedings sent a loud, unmistakable message: "You are not welcome." Anne reportedly followed up in private with the royal household's chief of etiquette. "If Camilla attends, I do not." It was then the monarchy understood. This was more than a statement. Anne was drawing a permanent line. Catherine, Princess of Wales, has always taken the long view. Where others lash out, she steps back and plans her moves. Her quiet is not weakness. It's a calculated form of influence. But Camilla's maneuvers within the palace have, for years, cut directly into Kate's vision for her role in the monarchy and her children's place in its future. The tension between the two women stretches back to Kate's early days as William's girlfriend. At the time, Camilla, still finding her footing in the royal fold, allegedly saw Kate as an outsider who didn't understand palace life, dismissing her as too gentle for the role. Now, decades later, that same commoner is the most popular royal since Diana, a reality Camilla reportedly finds politically inconvenient. Staff have witnessed Camilla talking over Kate at public engagements and offering unsolicited advice in front of others, always emphasizing her seniority. Kate rarely responds in kind, but her mother, Carol Middleton, has been less restrained. When Camilla excluded the Middletons from a high-profile garden party marking the king's first year on the throne, Carol was deeply offended. "If Diana's family is honored," she reportedly said, "why not ours?" Kate's response was understated but telling. She skipped the next event, citing family time. Royal watchers saw it for what it was, a quiet but unmistakable act of defiance. Now, with Camilla's calculated power plays increasingly in the open, Kate has found an unlikely ally in Princess Anne. Behind the scenes, the two women are said to have grown closer in recent months. What began as polite formality has evolved into deliberate cooperation. One insider claims Anne invited Kate to join her at an equestrian charity event that Camilla had also been considering. It was a subtle signal of alliance. Kate accepted without hesitation. Camilla stayed away. Later that week, during a private conversation in the gardens of Highgrove, Anne reportedly told Kate, "You handled her better than I ever could. But it's time she learned whose family this really is." Kate is said to have replied, "You did what I couldn't." It was a rare exchange of honesty. Two women bonded by shared frustration, a sense of duty, motherhood, and the enduring presence of Princess Diana in the royal story. Since the Windsor incident, Kate hasn't publicly commented on Camilla, but her actions speak volumes. Her rapport with Anne has grown warmer, her distance from Charles and Camilla more pronounced. Most telling, her children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, have been spotted more often with Anne than with their grandfather or step-grandmother. This was no mere family quarrel. It was a shift in power. With quiet determination, Kate has chosen her side. In the monarchy's long history, scandals, abdications, and betrayals have rattled its foundations. But this is different. It is silent, calculated, and intensely personal, and it's being fought from within. Anne's choice to leave Camilla off the guest list for royal events didn't require a formal decree. Her actions alone drew a line Buckingham Palace has long avoided. Between legacy and ambition, service and self-interest, Diana and Camilla. And the line wasn't drawn in anger, it was drawn in grief. For Anne, it was a tribute to her late mother and to the woman she believed should have been queen. For William, It was about protecting the crown he will one day inherit and the future he envisions for George, Charlotte, and Louis. For Kate, it was a long overdue correction to a power imbalance that had undermined the dignity of the institution she married into. Meanwhile, Charles, arguably the most isolated king in modern times, finds himself caught between the woman he loves and the family he vowed to protect. His silence may be his way of keeping the peace, but it comes at a price. Camilla's absence from upcoming royal engagements hasn't gone unnoticed. She is slipping out of the spotlight she spent decades trying to secure.